Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Kayfabe Central podcast. Another episode of the headlines in pro wrestling this week, where we talk about all the latest news and gossip and all that good stuff and sometimes bad stuff in pro wrestling. I'm your host, Josh, as always. Joining me is Rule on Wrestling.
Hey guys.
Yeah, quite a little bit to get into. I was just mentioning that there wasn't a whole lot that happened this week, but um, it's rare we get a week of pro wrestling where nothing happens. So, yeah, a little bit of things to get into. We got some Goldberg stuff to talk about, some Seth Rollins stuff. We're gonna get into our TNA Slammiversary predictions. And yeah, just go over just the weekly shows of Raw, NXT, and we'll go over SmackDown since that was last night. Um, so yeah, a little bit of stuff to get into. Before we get into that, though, if you want to help out on the monetary side of things, go ahead and check out the Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum to subscribe to the exclusive wrestling content tier. I'm also going to be doing movie reviews on there and all that good stuff, probably TV show reviews as well. Um, yeah, I'm like I've mentioned before, I'm injured right now, so I have a lot of time on my hands to just binge watch TV shows and movies. Um, I watched the Conjuring 2 last night or the night before with a friend of mine. Um, Not the greatest horror movie, but it's okay enough if you guys haven't seen The Conjuring. Um, but yeah, let's get straight into it. And make sure you guys follow Ruin Wrestling on TikTok. Go do that. He's got some great content over there. Um, but let's start off with some Seth Rollins news. So, as we all know, Seth Rollins during his Saturday night's main event match against LA Knight, he tweaked his knee, injured the knee, and all that stuff. So since then, there's been some reports that have come out about it, and obviously we went over Saturday night's main event and the match itself already. But the reports that have been coming out, and these are not official; these are just all speculation of these reports. And there's some that are saying that Seth Rollins' injury is possibly a work, or if not a work, not as bad as it seems. Um, the way I look at it, he is actually hurt and he's actually injured, or else they wouldn't have stopped the match immediately or like made the match end immediately and panned the camera off of him. And he looked visibly upset and he was on crutches. There was a video of him on crutches. So I think these are just speculation and I think he is actually hurt.
Yeah, it's as you said, there's so many reports and no one seems to be able to get a definitive answer, which is interesting. I lie on the camp of that he is hurt. If this turns out to be a work, this surely is one of the most well-kept secret works that they've done. If that was to happen, I'm not potentially, that makes no sense. I am not the biggest fan of if to use an injury as a work to this extent.
Yeah.
Because it plays, I think, with the fans and plays with emotions on the wrong side, if that makes sense. I don't look at, and this is the thing, I'm a massive hypocrite because I know if it turned out to be a work on the night, I would pop like crazy. But when you actually take a step back and think about it, it doesn't sit too well with me. Um, but what I don't mind is a legit injury being used for a storyline. In the sense of, as you mentioned, it maybe I think he definitely has injured his knee. I think that's 100%.
Yeah.
But maybe it isn't as bad as you mentioned, as we are maybe looking at. I think, if he has completely done his ACL, MCL again, he could be out for another, 8 to 10 months. And it's interesting that how hush hush WWE are being with it, how much they're keeping the cards quite close to their chest. And then also, I'm sure we'll discuss it when we look at the Raw recap. Obviously, Paul Heyman used it very interestingly in saying, that They aren't going to be getting rid of, the briefcase or anything like that. Um, so there is definitely the potential for it to be the uh as a day of a legit injury that isn't as bad, but they are using it to then eventually pull the trigger on a storyline as we can talk about. Obviously, maybe he is ready to come back at SummerSlam or something, and that would be a hell of a swerve if he was to cash in on, say, I don't know, CM Punk or something like that. But yeah, I think this is a legit injury. But it is interesting, kind of the direction WWE are going with it.
Yeah, I agree, and I also agree with the point that we haven't heard much on what the injury actually is. All we
Hmm.
know is that he was walking on crutches,
Yep.
and that's about it. And that he, from what it looks like, actually tweaked his knee. Um, and yeah, I am under that belief. I'm not believing the reports that this is a work. And like you said, I don't think taking a work to this extent would be a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it just would not be a good look for them.
No, and I said, yeah, it will create a moment, but I think it's creating a moment out of negative press and out of a negative situation. Um, I don't think that would work, and it would sit well with a lot of fans. And as you said, like how much they've not given away. You look at like the Liv Morgan injury or the Zoe Stark injury. We knew the reports pretty straight away, and she was completely, off written off TV. The Liv Morgan's Tag Team Championship. It was pretty much straight on Roxanne. She came in. Whereas with the Seth Rollins one, they are being very like, as I mentioned, we don't need to give away the briefcase or this is fine, blah blah. So they are obviously, yeah. We This is the whole point. This is the whole point of us is maybe don't go as far to say like we're proper in depth wrestling journalists, but we have to speculate. We have to look at it, and there are interesting points to consider.
So something else that came out of Saturday night's main event, um, Goldberg is apparently not happy with his retirement match. And so he gave a little bit of specifics and then said he'll get more into it in the weeks to come. Um, but he said that, he wasn't happy about the speech at the end of the show getting cut off. And I can't fully remember what else he said he wasn't happy about. I think it was like the match itself. Um,
I mean, it was the whole booking behind the match and how it came together on the so last minute with everything.
yeah. So the editing of WWE and like the whole promo thing, I completely understand him being mad at. I don't think he has a right to be mad at anything else though.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I mean, Goldberg says a lot of shit. To be truly honest, he does, and you hear him go off. No, but this one, I think, as you said, he has some parts. I think he's got legit gripe with. I said the way it was done at the end was really really poor on. I don't know if it's WWE or if it was the network, whoever it was. That was really badly done. And yeah, maybe it's a bit of an overtop statement that he said, but he did say, I don't think they did it on purpose to punish him as a WCW guy. But he has also brought that up and saying, he's a WCW guy, and this wouldn't have happened to the Undertaker or when John Cena retires, he's going to get a very long speech at the end.
Right.
Um, so I can understand that bit as you said. Like I totally understand the film, but that would have pissed me off if I was in that position.
Yeah. Um, but in terms of the match itself, I don't think it would have mattered where this match took place. This is Goldberg, and I think he still would have complained. Like, yeah, this was in Atlanta. He wanted it to be in Atlanta, but it was at Saturday night's main event, which is just a special event, not necessarily a Raw or SmackDown, but not necessarily a PLE. If this were like at WrestleMania, he would have been like, I should have been the main event of night two. And I think it's just like an endless cycle with Goldberg of him just like complaining, like, oh, like I should have gone over or something like that. Um, because this is typical Goldberg to just go on to interviews and just complain about certain things. And I think no matter what the case would have been for this match, like they could have easily not given him the option of picking his last opponent. They could have just like they could have given him the Kurt Angle treatment, right? Um, and there's other wrestlers that have retired from wrestling that didn't get a big like send off, and at least he got a world heavyweight championship match against arguably the best wrestler in the company or in the world right now. So I don't.
That's true.
I think no matter what the case would have been, he would have ended up complaining anyway.
Yeah, as you said, it's kind of what you've come to expect from Goldberg, and yeah, as you've mentioned, when you take a step back, you can say, yeah, you know what, he did get to go out against one of the best in the world right now, and continue to put Gunther over as he should be because the guy's amazing. I think on top of the speech, I would also, like, I'm trying to picture me in a situation. The only other thing that I would think of that I would have been actively pissed at or pissed off at, sorry, without knowing the insides. Obviously, if everything, like I said, we don't know about the booking or how things came together. And I think this is a feeling not just for Goldberg though. I think also a lot of the talent felt this was obviously. I don't. I'm trying to try not going a WWE rant from last weekend, but was just that whole weekend was so mismanaged simply by the fact that they were petty and didn't and was scared of AEW's biggest show of the year. So I can understand that because again, I would be mad at that. I know that's not just a Goldberg thing. A lot of talent I know were unhappy with how that weekend was being managed and handled as well. But yeah, I think as you said though, like the ability to do what he does, didn't even have a retirement match. So there's many talent out there that are luckily ones that have came back. But if you look back at Edge, if Edge had never came back, what was his last match? Was it not against? Was it Swagger or Del Rio at Mania? I can't remember which one.
Um,
I think it was
yeah, one of
the
those
one
two.
we retained that. Yeah, I think it was
Oh,
Del
when he
Rio, but I think it's the
retained the
one where
world
Del Rio
title.
won the. Was that the one? Was it that one? Then the next night
Yeah,
he had to retire.
yeah. He fought Del Rio at Mania 27, and I think it was after that.
Yeah, so like as you said, that could have been Edge's last match, and that would have sucked. So obviously now we know that he's fine and he is wrestling again. But as you said, like that could have been Goldberg. So to be able to go out against Gunther, that's something I would feel really like proud and privileged to be able to do.
Yeah. Um. So moving on to some like Monday Night Raw stuff and just some TV stuff in general. Naomi is now part of the Raw roster as Women's World Champion, and they went with the most simple, less confusing route that they could go with, which is Naomi came out, pretty much said she's part of the Raw roster now, and then set up a triple threat rematch between her, Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky at SummerSlam. So I I think that Naomi is going to retain at SummerSlam, and obviously when
Yeah.
the time comes, we'll get to those predictions. Um, Stephanie Vaquer also has a title match guarantee. So maybe they're just gonna go with Naomi and Stephanie, and hell, maybe they put the title on Stephanie.
Yeah, it's a weird one. But I agree. With the match and the outcome as well. As you said, I'm sure eventually we will get to the SummerSlam predictions one day. But yeah, I would say she'd retain. I also see folk again because all wrestling fans like to do is just complain. But I've seen folk again complain like, oh, Io and especially Rhea that in another title match. They're like, I'm sorry, like if it annoys you, but like look at the match that Rio and Io just had at the weekend. That's the reason why they get put in that position because they're fucking good. Like it's like, and you can only like adding Naomi can only make it like just as good. It's like the whole like Becca and Lyra situation where it's like, oh wow, oh, Becky and Lyra, sorry, where it's like, oh, they have really good matches. Oh, let's add Bailey because Bailey's also really good. So surely their match with the three of them can only be just as good, if not better. So, yeah, I think it's a good match. And as you said, it's an interesting setup for Stephanie. Because as you said, you would assume she'd go after Naomi, but she has. Well, I mean, I'm sure also we'll get to it, but obviously she has now popped up on SmackDown. So maybe I don't really know what way they're going to flip around. I would say if they're wanting a high caliber match for Clash of Paris, and again, this is just sheer speculation that I'm throwing out here into the wild right now. Um, I would imagine, as I think a lot of people will maybe agree with me, that Jade is going to beat Tiffany at SummerSlam. I think that's fairly apparent. Um, and if they want to have a big marquee match, the issue I have with Jade, I've tried my best to get behind her and like her, and I do like her. I'll say that, but I just still not so really convinced by the in ring when she's in there with someone who can carry her to that match. And again, that's not a bad thing that they have to carry her. She's still, developing and learning. Um, I think that when they can do it, the matches are fine. But when she doesn't have that person, then it really shows. And I think Jade has the presentation of the champion, but maybe just not the in-ring work. And if they wanted to put Jade and Stephanie in the ring together, I think Stephanie could really easily carry Jade to a very good match.
Yeah, that definitely is a possibility. And like on SmackDown, it wasn't much. She beat Alba Fire pretty quickly. And then just
Yeah.
fought off Piper Niven after. So it is possible that she can go after Jade Cargill, who I'm in agreement, I think is going to beat Tiffany at SummerSlam. Um yeah, I think that's a good possibility. I don't know
It's
where
interesting. I don't really know what's going to go.
sorry, yeah, I don't know where they'd go with
Oh, yeah.
Naomi though.
Yeah, that's the struggle with the booking right now. It's like, and again, like I know I've just kind of going to contradict myself as I just said that like I'm happy with Io and Rio being in the main event because they're they're two amazing wrestlers. I'm going to take a wild guess potentially if Naomi is going to stay on Raw. Maybe Bianca comes back and goes to Raw, especially if they have a draft. Also, we don't know if they are going to do that or not. So maybe we do the Naomi Bianca feud, uh, because Naomi can only feud with Rhea and Io for so long. As much as I'm fine with the matches, there's only so much you can take. So yeah, they don't have a lot of option at the minute, but that also partly comes down to their own not wanting to build other people.
Yeah, they seem to not want to do the draft this year, and it doesn't seem like they are going to. Um,
No.
and like they did the whole thing where, excuse me, where like Naomi, like Adam Pearce welcomed Naomi to Monday Night Raw, and I don't see why they
Mhm.
would do that if she's going to go back to SmackDown soon, and if they don't plan on doing a draft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, like exactly. I think you've got a spot on. If they don't do the draft after SummerSlam, I don't imagine they're going to do it this year. And like as you said, it is interesting because they just seem to just pick up superstars whenever they want them. Like LA Knight just was like, okay, I'm on Raw now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's an interesting situation.
Yeah. Um, and you would think that like they do like some sort of trade, like someone goes to SmackDown for LA Knight or something like that, but it just seems like, oh no, you're a better fit for Raw now, so we're just gonna send you up there.
I know. I do as much as it's so cheesy and kind of cringy. I do miss the days of like the late 2000s WWE draft when you had them all in the background in their Raw and SmackDown t-shirts.
Yeah.
And then like the one where Cena got drafted was it to SmackDown and back to Raw on the same night. I
Yeah.
do really miss that. Maybe that's a nostalgia thing because it was part of my childhood. But like
Yeah.
I loved that growing up.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that would be a cool concept to bring back. Um, yeah, I think a draft in general could be good, to like shake up the roster a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, some other stuff that happened on Monday Night Raw. Roman Reigns returned. He took out Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I am assuming it's going to be Roman and Jay versus Braun and Bronson at SummerSlam. CM Punk's obviously going
yeah.
to face Gunther at SummerSlam for the World Championship because he won the Gauntlet match. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on Roman Reigns coming back?
Yeah, massive moment, obviously, and I did mention it in my one of my recap videos. Was I It's an interesting one because I think Roman probably was always meant to return, at least at this Raw, if not definitely this week coming, because SummerSlam's only a week and a half away. Um, but it's interesting to see how much has changed since that Seth injury. Especially as we said, if it is entirely 100% legit. Um. But the match, yeah, as you said, it does seem like it's setting up for a tag team match. If not, and they want to get more matches on the card, because also they need to fill it up. It's a 2 night SummerSlam this year, and maybe they do it separately and I've heard them wanting to do Roman and Braun, and then Bronson and Jay. So they might just split the match if they're needing to fill out the card a bit more. But if not, yeah, I assume we'll get a standard tag team match.
Yeah. Um, I assume this is gonna take us to like War Games. It's probably going to be like Braun and Bronson mixed with like Solo and the MFTs versus Roman, Jay, maybe Punk, in a War Games match because I don't think Seth would be available by then. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so. I think that's I think that is what they will lean to, and that's where obviously the Seth injury, especially if it's a long term one, kind of puts a kind of damp on their plans. Because I think, as you said, I think it was going to be Seth and Group and whoever Plan B was meant to be. Which by the way was a question I was thinking of if we want to do another podcast on that, of we could who do we think Plan B could potentially be.
yeah,
It's a separate discussion, but yeah, maybe it was going to be the four of them, and then as you said, maybe chuck someone else in there, or maybe if they wanted to do it strictly kind of raw, they could maybe chuck someone like Rusev in there, especially if he was to kind of win this feud with Sheamus. But yeah, at the minute, I don't know what direction they're going to go in with it. As you said, if Seth is definitely injured, I feel like doing Bloodline whilst boring because it's Bloodline for like the third or fourth year in a row. But also, it kind of makes sense, as you said, if they did like Braun and Bronson alongside Solo and whoever the hell was they wanted to get in there. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting for but yeah, I mean the match at SummerSlam, I mean, it should be fine. This is the part of the reason I do think they might do it solo is I guess it's a little bit. It's not weird, but I would imagine that they would want to give Roman, especially on his return match, a big marquee kind of moment, a big marquee match himself, which means that he could go up against Braun. Um, but either way, I mean, I think the match will be good, and yeah, and I also for Monday Night Raw, like the actual gauntlet match itself, I have like mixed feelings about it. I've because on the one side, you actually predicted it pretty spot on. To be fair, you did say
yeah,
that they were just going to have Braun run through the entire field, which he did. Which, as I said, on the one hand, I like because Braun looks incredibly strong. However, on the other side, and this isn't just a fault with this match; it's a fault with gauntlet matches in general. I'm not really a massive fan because of the time constraints they have unless they do that like they did. You remember that Raw where they had it was like a men's gauntlet match and it literally lasted like near enough the entirety of Raw.
yeah,
Um, unless they do that, it's they're really kind of harmed by the time constraints, and it just makes members of what are meant to be your top kind of baby faces in the roster look incredibly weak. Like Penta and LA Knight look like they may as well be in the fucking. Oh, sorry, they may as well, but lower mid card. Like, um, that's like the only bit that kind of irritates me a little bit. I'm like, I don't like that. At least Jay got attacked by Bronson, so he has a kind of legit reason to be taken out of the match. Though I do also love the fact that Jey Uso in kayfabe is probably the dumbest wrestler on the planet because whilst Braun's in the corner like dying, Jay's like, "Oh, you let me just run my entrance again." like,
Yeah,
um,
I didn't.
so and it's so stupid.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah, it was very very dumb.
Yeah. Um. So yeah, CM Punk's going to face Gunther at SummerSlam. He won that gauntlet. Something else that happened on Raw that I found pretty funny. Um, there was a backstage segment with the New Day and Adam Pearce. The New Day was trying to give Adam Pearce a toupee to bribe him into giving them a title match, a tag title match. Um, and then they were with Grayson Waller as well, where no Austin Theory. That story's just been going nowhere. But then we transitioned right into Adam Pearce stopping the Judgment Day and telling Dominic Mysterio he's going to get reevaluated next week. And if he's medically cleared, he is going to defend the IC title against AJ Styles at SummerSlam. And then the camera just pans to AJ Styles on the corner praying for Dominic Mysterio to be medically cleared. And then Dom is just like praying himself, like, please don't let me be medically cleared. And Styles was like, God, don't listen to him. So that was pretty entertaining. These two have been pretty entertaining the past couple weeks, and I'll give them that. Um, I do think Dom is retaining at SummerSlam, though. Um, I
I think so too.
I don't think that they're going to give the title to AJ just yet. Um, but yeah, that was a pretty funny segment.
Yeah, that is, and what you said originally as well. I always stand by this opinion. I don't know if it's considered controversial or not, but the New Day's heels are actually really good. Their run was awful because of the booking. Then these characters though are fantastic. I
Yeah,
just was it like when they come out in like the black veils and all that. It's so good. It's just a shame that it's not allowed to be shown on TV. And when they do, Xavier and Kofi make gold. Like them, like even in the matches, in the very limited matches they were given, when they come down to the ring and like Xavier's arguing with children, it's fantastic. I love it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, the Dom AJ stuff was fantastic as well. Really funny. One thing I did find really funny as well to follow on from that segment was, as you said, both Dom and AJ were sitting like praying and being like, "Oh, please God." The next segment right after that was the segment with Rusev and Sheamus, and Rusev like came into the shot and he said something like, "I am God." I don't know if anyone else noticed it. he said something along the lines. I was sitting laughing at it. So,
Oh, I didn't even catch that actually.
yeah, he walks in. He's something like that. He walks into the thing with Sheamus. He's like, "I am a god." Right after AJ and Dom were praying to God. But yeah, I'm in agreement. And it's like spoiler, I guess we can talk about. We'll talk about later on when it comes to TNA stuff. But yes, I agree. I don't think AJ is going to be winning here. I think they'll keep it on Dom as long as I hope they give more people for Dom, and that's been the issue because I absolutely adore Dom Mysterio. I was so happy when he won it at Mania, but the run hasn't been great. Because the like I right at the beginning it was fun and they gave him Penta and he let him do some stuff with Octagon, but like there's been no one for him. So hopefully I hope he gets a good match with AJ and then can get some his teeth into something else after that.
Yeah. So that was Monday Night Raw. NXT was NXT. Was a very weird episode of NXT, and
That's just a normal episode.
yeah, I didn't like it at all. Um, JC Jane kicked off the show bragging about her retention against Jordan Grace. Um, Masha Slamovich interrupted her, and I thought Masha just forgot how to cut a promo for a second.
That was so awkward.
Very awkward. And apparently her mic wasn't working, so it was just an
Yeah.
awkward foul, and Henny was like, oh, just take my mic. Um, and just like constantly, it was like, hey JC, hey JC, JC, hey. hey JC, and I was like, oh my god, like,
This is, I know, it was so awkward, and I was like, no, Marshall, no, I adore Marshall Slamovich, but even I was like, no, please no.
yeah, um, yeah, that was just, yeah, that was awkward. That was bad. Um, we had Dark State versus Hendry, Santana, and Williams in a no contest. I again still can't get behind Dark State. It's just retribution all over again.
It's
Um,
retribution, but somehow worse. I don't know how.
yeah. And like I'm trying to understand the direction that they're trying to go with Dark State. That oh they love chaos, but there's no direction for these guys. They just come
No,
out and attack people. And like
no.
there was a thing where Trick Williams was backstage, and like we still haven't like gotten any kind of hint or clue if Trick Williams is the leader of Dark State or if he's not. It seems like they're dragging that out. But then backstage, Trick Williams ran into Team Undertaker from LFG, and they were just talking. And Trick Williams came in, oh, you gotta get a move out of my way. Undertaker didn't take kindly to that. So next week, um, Undertaker is going to confront Trick Williams. I can see Dark State getting involved in that, and then someone coming out to save Undertaker. I don't think they're going to beat down the Undertaker. Um, they definitely won't do that power bomb to him. Uh,
Imagine.
um,
Quite literally, the dead man would die.
yeah. Um, my God. Um, yeah. NXT as a whole just was not good. Do you have any thoughts
But
about NXT?
sure, yeah. I mean, I totally agree. NXT. I've just become accustomed to NXT just being NXT. It's like its own little like multiverse, like of just weirdness. But yeah, a couple of things. I could go the dark state stuff as you said. They need. I know it's so cliche, but they need a leader. They need to bring someone to show that they're in charge of this team. Well, that's Trick. Well, that's someone else. Because as you said, right now they've got nothing. At least I'll use an example. Use something like the Nexus. At least you had Wade Barrett at the top pulling the strings for this crazy stable underneath them. That's what Darts they have. But right now they don't have a Wade Barrett, so they're just there doing random things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. But yes, I do have a feeling I might not else I don't know, but where I think it's going, and I think it involves the Undertaker and involves a certain person who we'll discuss later on, I'm sure. So yeah, that, and then the only other bit is the match with the family. The match itself is fine, but I'm just like Tony D won, and I was like, wait, what was like the whole point of the story? Like,
Yeah. The triple threat I actually
that
did enjoy. It was a good match.
it, the match was good.
Yeah. Um
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah,
totally.
I don't know the direction they're going to take with Stacks and Luca. All three of them had a great showing. Like that really woke me up, and then NXT just put me right back to sleep after. But um, yeah, good match, and I think it looks like Tony D is leaving the Dawn gimmick behind because he left a hat in the ring.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, I didn't even thought of it that way. I hope so. I've said it before. Like, I am not a fan of Tony D, which I always try to not say when Stu. I know he is. Um, I am not. It's got nothing to do with the guys in ring work, proven by this match. Like him, along with obviously Luca and Stacks as well. Very, very good. I just don't vibe with the whole mob boss. I don't. That's just me in general. Though. I don't like that style, and it comes to like movies as well. I don't like watching like I've seen like The Godfather and all that, but they aren't. I can appreciate them for the movies that they are, but they aren't my type of movies. So the whole mob boss gimmick never clicked with me. But if he is willing to and wanting to move on and change it up, I am more than down to see what he wants to do.
Yeah. Um. Well, I do have to start a new meeting because we have 3 minutes left in this one, so I will be right back. Okay, we are back. So yeah, we were talking about NXT and you know how NXT is just NXT. Um, some of the things we had on there, we had a segment between Obafemi, Josh Briggs, and Inamura, and like they really rushed this split of Briggs and Inamura. It was just like, I fight with honor, you don't, and then we are now getting a triple threat match next week in Houston on NXT for the NXT Championship. Uh, yeah, they're really pushing the Houston show. I guess they don't want to cancel last minute and end up back in Orlando. Um, but yeah, they really rushed this, and I'm interested. I because Josh Briggs was somebody that like I thought was going to be very like pushed and be at the top, but he's just been very like vanilla recently
Yeah,
to put it that way. Um and this crowd did not like him.
yeah, they didn't. You're right. No, I agree. I mean, we've spoken before that I think Josh Briggs is one of the most underrated wrestlers in WWE. I think he's amazing. But yeah, recently it's not been all there. One thing I do find interesting actually, and you kind of mentioned it there, was WWE do really want to seem to push this Houston show, as you said. Um, and this is a wild suggestion. Now, I think there's like a 5% chance that they actually do it. We all keep discussing the fact of like, oh, who's going to beat Obafemi? What if nobody beats Obafemi? What if he does lose it in a triple threat and it's not him that's losing it? Just throwing the idea. I don't think they will, and
Wait,
not
who did you
here.
say?
But I was saying the fact of like we keep all talking about the fact of like who's going to be the one to defeat Obafemi, and
Yeah.
then I kind of brought the idea there of what if what if nobody beats Obafemi? What if the fact is that Obafemi doesn't get pinned and no one beats him? What if it is a triple threat that he loses the title in? And I said there's about a 1% chance they actually do it here, but it's not completely out of the question.
Yeah, I think if he were to lose it in a triple threat, he wouldn't be the one getting pinned. I don't think
No
he's losing
chance.
it in Houston. I think he's retaining there. I
Yeah.
don't see a reason why Inamura or Briggs would dethrone him. I don't know who could dethrone him. And like you said, they could just like have him like I don't know, drop it to like uh Ethan Page or something like that. Um, once he drops the North American title, if he doesn't get called up to the main roster, Ethan Page could very well be the one to do that. Um, so yeah, that's a good point. I
It's
because I don't
yeah.
know, there's nobody other than Ethan Page, and Ethan Page is like not available unless they do the double champ thing. Other than Ethan Page, I can't think
Yeah.
of anybody.
No, neither can I. That's why I'm like, what if they just don't have anyone? Like I said, even though yeah, he's lost the championship, but I don't even think calling it as the to dethrone Obafemi because no one he's not. I said he's not lost it. And the only person, and it's kind of what we've said there, who is available to stand in at that part of the roster would be a kind of what was a kind of he already is a huge Josh Briggs. They just need to give him more rather than this kind of blandness that we've been getting the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to, by the way, before I will make this very clear. I said before, in case anyone's going mental at me, it's like I don't think they're going to. I think there's like a 1% chance that they do. I'm very much in the camp that Obafemi will be retaining this night on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But it was just an idea, like, because as you said, I'm like, whenever it gets asked the question, like, who's still going to be the one to throw Obafemi? And there's no one really, and no one who's particularly available at the minute to do it. Because as you said, Ethan Page, North American champion, and then even on the other side, Trick Williams, TNA champion. So they're a bit stuck.
Yeah. Um, some other stuff that happened on NXT. Um, we had Tavion Heights and uh Ren Sinclair segment, and Charlie Dempsey was in there, and Ren Sinclair said she's gonna face Mariah May next week. Um, oh yeah, we had a Evolve Women's Championship match on NXT that just got thrown away because it was between Callie Armstrong versus Carmen Petrovic. Jordan Grace came down and attacked both women, causing a DQ, and called out Mariah. No, wow, Blake Monroe. Um,
He said it before. I won't
did I
interrupt him.
say Mariah May before?
You did, you did, yeah.
Blake Monroe called her out, and she wasn't there, but had the like video package or whatever, teasing Jordan Grace. Yeah, that was that. There's nothing else to that segment.
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. Like
Yeah,
again, that's just NXT. It's just that in general. But yeah, as you said, I don't know. It seems really, really dumb. It doesn't like necessarily make me feel more sympathetic towards Jordan Grace. I'm just like, wow, that was kind of utterly pointless, and you've ruined the match. Okay, cool. I don't know. I guess we'll find out on Tuesday when Blake Monroe, nearly said Mariah, if Blake has the match with Ren, I can only assume Jordan will get involved. If not, it definitely after the bell. Um, somehow. So yeah, we'll just need to wait and see. NXT. I mean, I said it before. Such a weird brand because the week to week shows are just nonsense usually. But then they go and do the events at Battleground or whatever, and it's usually fantastic. So it's
yeah,
a weird one.
yeah, 100%. Um, so moving on to SmackDown, um, we had and I don't have the notes in front of me, but we had Stephanie Vaquer, squash Alba Fire. I say squash. That sounded so disrespectful, but that's what it was. um,
Yeah, I love Albor as well, as you can imagine. I'm very biased towards her. Well, to be fair, I will say on this match and on the Alba Fire thing, just a very quick note. It is wrestling, and particularly WWE, their own kayfabe is really weird. Because, like, arguably, Alba is up there as one of the most dominant champions of the modern era. If you look at her NXT UK Women's Championship run, it was like 660 odd days. Then she went undefeated and had amazing feuds with Piper and Tony Storm. Like she's really, really good. I'm also biased because I watched on ICW the big independent promotion over here in Scotland, so I know her and I've been watching her for years. So I'm very biased, but she's really, really good, and I do love the Secret Service. And so is Piper and everything. And I do love what they do with Chelsea Green, but it really annoys me seeing them like on stage. Like I will always say this. It's kind of one of my. It's not a claim to fame at all. But I remember ICW's like the kind of like their WrestleMania. It's a thing called Fear and Loathing, and I went to go see it in 2018, I believe this one was, and it was Piper at the time, Viper, taking on Kaylee Ray, who's Alba Fire, in a street fight. And I watched these women put like rip barbed wire against each other, cut each other up, drop each other on thumbtacks. I've seen them go through glass. And now I like, see some of the stuff they're doing on WWE TV, and I'm just like, oh, I'm really disheartened seeing it.
yeah, yeah. Alba Fire is a good wrestler, and so is Piper Niven. But yeah, they
Yeah,
just didn't really get a chance to showcase that
no.
on WWE
I
TV.
appreciate it's against Stephanie.
Yeah, yeah. And Stephanie's obviously being set for a big push and probably a world title win
Yep.
at Clash in Paris. So
Oh, I imagine so.
I guess that made sense.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. It makes sense. It's just a slight nig in my heart that makes me so sad.
yeah. Some other stuff on SmackDown we'll kind of skim through before we get to TNA. Charlotte Flair beat Raquel Rodriguez. As expected, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss will be facing Raquel and Roxanne at SummerSlam for the tag titles. I expect Charlotte and Alexa to win at SummerSlam.
I think so.
Um, we had Damian Priest and Carmelo Hayes get interrupted by Aleister Black. That ended in a DQ. Um, I assume this is just going to be a TV feud. I don't think that they're going to take this to any like pay per views. Like we're probably gonna get like Aleister Black for Damian Priest in like 2 weeks or something, maybe the night before SummerSlam.
Maybe they do
Um,
quite like doing that, like doing it as you said, the show right before SummerSlam. They do like doing that. I don't know. I would like to see it on SummerSlam, especially because they have to fill it out. Because you would imagine, touch wood, because I know Damien Priest is much beloved by the company and doesn't get pinned too often. But you would like to assume that Alistair would win this, and I would like to see him get that massive win on SummerSlam. But I also, as you said, agree. I would not be surprised if this is just put on TV the night before SummerSlam.
yeah. Well, they do need to fill 2 nights, two full cards.
Well,
So
that's what I'm thinking.
yeah, they could very well do that. Um, they like obviously announced a few more matches. We had a thing where Jacob Fatu with Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, where to start SmackDown there was a car accident, and um Solo Sikoa pinned it on Jacob Fatu. He was proven innocent. Going into like Jacob's past of being a criminal and stuff like that. I'm not going to lie, and I don't know if I'm alone in this take. I didn't like this at all because I thought this was going to be some like a surprise that's entering this feud or something like that. But it was literally just to play into Jacob's past as a criminal. And all I could think is that, holy shit, this is something Vince McMahon would do.
it, it felt very that. It felt like early 2000s. Yeah, I actually do agree. The bits I did like, and I'll say, is I like the outcome of obviously what we got eventually. And that's the match we'll talk about. But I will just say, when Solo got arrested, Solo is gold. He's so funny. But yes, I do agree. Overall, it was very dumb. It's the bit when he was getting put in the car and Cody walked past. And Solo's like, "Oh, come on, man. I'm sorry for everything. Go on, let me help me." Solo is gold, and I adore that man. But yes, I at the it'll take the stupidness out of it on face value. It wasn't my favorite thing, but I am not necessarily glad with the match with the two people because also we've seen the Jacob one. I want Jacob to move on, but I think the stipulation will be very fun. More just because I want to see, and as I said, I don't. I said this in my video. I don't want Jacob Fastwood to die, but I would love to see that man hit him and so off the top of the steel cage, which I imagine we might see.
Yeah. See, I'm the opposite. Because like you said, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu are facing off for the US title in a steel cage. Love that the US title is getting more attention and is actually getting stipulation. But WWE recently has not had a good reputation for steel cage matches. The last good one was CM Punk and Seth Rollins on Raw. I didn't really enjoy the Priest and McIntyre one. It was okay. Um, but WWE often doesn't do steel cage matches that well. Um, like you said, they could have some cool spots where Fatu jumps off the top of the cage. Um, and I'm not saying that these guys have to like risk their livelihood for this to be a good match.
Yeah,
I'm just saying like use the cage more, do something innovative.
yeah.
Um, yeah. And I don't like the idea of walking out of the door to
Oh,
win the cage
oh,
match. Um,
it's
yeah, it's supposed to be
rubbish.
cage match. You're supposed to be beat up. Just win it in the ring by pinfall.
Yeah, I agree. It's a very rubbish stipulation. As long as you don't have Jesse Ventura calling commentary again, it'll be fine. Um, no, you did bring up a great point though, because you're right where you actually think about it. Like, yeah, they haven't really hit that often. It's the issue I think, in particularly with WWE, they had a while for a while, especially with Vince McMahon, was having these stipulations, but as you said, not using them. Like they'd have a steel cage match and just have a match in the ring. I mean, that late 2010s period of Hell in a Cell, apart from maybe the Randy and Jeff Hardy one, and potentially a bit of the Shane McMahon and Undertaker stuff, like the Hell in a Cell stuff, there's a lot of times where they just had matches in the ring, and it's like I don't want to see that. I don't want people to die. I don't want them to do a Mick Foley. But if you're bringing in the structure, use the structure. Or I think a perfect example, if you aren't going to properly use the structure, do what Drew and Punk did and have just a sheer bloodbath in the ring, with weapons. So yeah, I agree. Um, on that part actually, like as you said, and I don't think the match. I think the reason I like this, sorry, or at least like it enough, is because if they did just do the one-on-one match, it would be a bit not me. I don't want to go as far and say meh. That's a bit unfair. Um, but it's just. I mean, we'll talk about it when we also get to the main event. Again, I like what they've done there. But adding that steel cage at least adds a wee bit more interest to it. As you said, if they do it properly, I think they will with Jacob because I feel like Jacob is enough of a crazy bastard that he'll be quite happy to do. Like even if they did the Umaga spot with Bobby Lashley, but recreate it with Jacob and have Jacob just send himself through the cage onto the bloodline, I would love to see something like that.
Yeah. Um, some other stuff that happened on SmackDown. Andrade and Ray Phoenix won a number one contenders fatal four-way tag match, defeating DIY, Fraxium, and the Motor City Machine Guns. They are going to face the White Six at some point. I don't know how that match is going to turn out. I expect the White Six to retain. Um, but yeah, my pick going into this match was either Andrade and Ray Phoenix. Oh my goodness, I can't say his name today for some reason. Or Fraxium.
Yeah, I was the same. Yeah, I am very mixed in this as well because I currently loving what they're doing with Ray and Andrade. It's one of them ones. I swear it's always the same in wrestling. Why is it that the whole just chucking two wrestlers together seems to be like two really good wrestlers, but they've got nothing to do? Seems to be way better than actually certain established tag teams that they bring in.
Yeah.
It just works better. But yeah, I honestly I love Ray and Andrade, and I would more than happily see them just win the belts and just have them because they're way more entertaining. Like this is the thing with the Wyatts, and it goes back to, and it all comes back to Bray Wyatt himself. Um, with that character in the sense that like they don't need the tag team belts, and if they were booked correctly, they can be shown that they don't need it. I mean, look at, and I'm touching wood here before it goes at me because I know there was periods where they messed up. Look at the Fiend. The Fiend was so much worse off when he was champion because it made no sense. When the Fiend wasn't champion, it was amazing. So that's what it's like. If they're booked correctly, they don't need the tag team belts. And currently, I don't want to say as far go as far as say they're going to just hold the belts hostage, but that's how it would kind of feel. So I would rather get put on like Ray and Andrade, and they just go out every week with Fraxium, with DIY, with Motorcycle Machine Guns, and just have, and as Sheamus would say, banger after banger of a match every week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, the White Six just seem to like not really have a direction right now as tag champs.
No,
Obviously their next stop is Ray and Andrade, but in terms of everything else, I am just not feeling it. Um,
no,
I'd be fine with Andrade and Ray winning this and just having good matches. Eventually you're gonna need some storytelling with this with the tag
yeah,
titles. But yeah, I'd be okay with Andrade and Ray holding those tag titles and just having good matches within the tag
yeah,
division.
yeah, same.
Um, to end the night, we had a contract signing between John Cena and Cody Rhodes. Um, they had John Cena come out and say he won't be at SummerSlam, and he's like not emotionally and physically available, and this is all that he could give the fans. Cody wasn't having it. Cody attacked him, um, did a splash to the table to Cena, and illegally forced Cena to sign the contract. Um, that's not legal, Cody. You cannot do that. That is not how contracts work. But in WWE it is. So
Oh,
yeah, that was
I
the
love the contract situation in WWE. It's so dumb. It's like when Rhea did. it just earlier this year. We should just sign the contract that didn't have our name in it, and they're like, "Oh, it's legally binding now." It's like what?
Yeah. Um, so that was SmackDown. I guess we can get into some TNA stuff, and then we'll get into a couple other smaller things. Um, so yeah, TNA Slammiversary 2025 is set for tomorrow, which is July 20th. Um, Pretty good card. So on the countdown, and what I'm looking at here, they only have one match on the countdown. I could have sworn that they had two at least. Um, but one of the matches is
Uh,
Real One, aka Enzo Amore, and Zilla Fatu. Um, this card actually doesn't show the whole match, but do
oh,
you have the?
I've got it if you want. I can tell
Yeah,
you.
okay. I was just gonna say,
Yeah, I've got it. Don't worry. And yes, you're correct. There are two on the countdown. It's the Knockouts Tag Team Championships that are on the countdown as well.
yeah,
We can talk about that. But yes, so this match, yeah, as you said, we've got Rule One, the former Enzo Amore, Zilla Fatu, and Josh Bishop. They're taking on the TNA boys of Jake Something, Steve Macklin, and Mance Warner.
okay, yeah. Which is interesting because weren't both Macklin's partners just going after him for his title?
Yeah, they were. I'm going to assume this whole thing with this entire card is it's meant to be. It's I think it's a lot of quote unquote TNA defending the honor of TNA. That's how I look at this card. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to make sense. It's just how it seems.
Um, I don't know who's going to win that match. I going to assume and Zilla Fatu and Enzo or Real One is representing Fourth Rope Wrestling, which I did some research on
Yep.
and I I don't know. I had a thing where I was just making fun of the name and the logo, because I don't understand the name Fourth Rope Wrestling. Yeah, they don't even
Yeah.
wrestle with a fourth rope, so I don't understand. Um, the other countdown show match we have is the Elegance brand versus the Inspiration, aka the Iconics, for the Knockouts tag titles. Um, I'm going to assume that the Inspiration win the titles here because I believe that Ash by Elegance has a title opportunity.
She can't remember if she does or not. Probably. But either way, I agree. To be fair, I agree. Inspirations just came back. Obviously, the former Iconics. They're one of my favorite women's tag teams of all time. They're incredible. So glad to see them back. I did also mention I always brought up the fact that I would love for them to win it because I would love to see them go to NXT and defend those belts over there and get to see them on NXT. So yeah, I've got inspirations. Here, and also like what I said with the other match. Yeah, I've got the TNA boys probably to win that. It's a bit of a weird one. Um, on both sides actually for these two guys. So it's interesting that they've got Real One or as I said Enzo, on a card that is affiliated with WWE. I didn't think they were too happy with him uh, after everything that's happened, especially the Survivor Series performance by him, where he showed up in the crowd. So there's that, and then yeah, Zilla Fatu. I was wondering if this is maybe a bit of a tester because I feel like from what I've heard, I think Zilla is one of the ones that's under WWE's radar. And I look at especially with his tie-ins to Booker T. I know he wrestles down there, so I wonder if this is maybe a bit of a scouting opportunity for WWE.
Yeah, it definitely could be. It's a good spotlight for him. And
Yep.
yeah. So we also have AJ Styles returning to TNA because for some reason we couldn't get that as a surprise. Uh
I don't know why.
yeah, I don't know. They decided to ruin the surprise of AJ Styles returning to TNA. He's going to be at Slammiversary. I'm going to assume because the promo packages that they showed his ring gear and they made it seem like he's going to be wrestling. So I'm going to assume because Frankie Kazarian is not on this card. I'm going
Oh,
to make a prediction that Frankie Kazarian comes out, cuts a promo, and says, I'm the god of TNA or whatever he calls himself. Um, that he's not on the card and he should be, and maybe issues an open challenge, and that's where AJ Styles comes out.
yeah, that's actually a good one. I completely disregarded Frankie. I completely forgot about him. Because I did say something similar. I didn't know if it was going to be necessarily a match, but I did think he was definitely going to get interrupted no matter what, or something like that was going to happen. And I brought up potentially someone like Eric Young, they could
Mm.
get into it with. But yeah, no, Frankie's a good shout. Actually, I completely forgot about that. But yeah, the whole still like it not being a surprise thing is really annoying. I did say this. Like, I understand. It's like when they announced the Rumble participants. I'm not a complete like, oh my God, like I understand the business side of it. It's just frustrating being a fan. Um, like it's like for instance, when they announced like Cena's going to be in the Rumble. It's like, oh, why can't you keep that a surprise? I understand why, because then people know John Cena's going to be there and they're going to sell more tickets. I get it. It's just very frustrating as a fan because you're like, I like being surprised.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that really sucks. They could have just kept teasing it, and then we'd
Yeah.
have an idea that okay, AJ could show up. But no,
Well,
they decided
well,
to
that's the
just
thing.
yeah,
They were sorry. Like that's what because the TNA Carlos Silva, TNA president, he kept tweeting out and using the word phenomenal every 5 minutes. So it's like they were teasing it. So I don't know, as you said, I don't know why they then eventually felt, oh, we need to announce it.
yeah. Um,
Strange one, strange one. I've seen a lot of folk also saying it'd be great if he comes out with Get Ready to Fly. I would be so good if he comes out to that.
I don't think. Yeah, I think he's just going to have his WWE entrance
Oh,
theme.
I I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
But it would be very cool if they give the TNA one.
Yeah. We have Dark State I cannot speak today. Dark State versus the System, except for Moose, because he's in a match later on. So it's Dark State versus Cardona, Eddie Edwards, Brian Myers, and JDC. Obviously Dark State attacked Cardona. Um, I don't fully know who I'm taking to win this match. I want to say that they're gonna give it to Dark State and kind of push the narrative more of them having a leader to some degree. If they want to put them in a spotlight. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know really. I'm leaning
That
more
was
towards Dark State.
Yeah, that's pretty much my exact thoughts on it as well. It comes back to what we were speaking about earlier during the NXT segment. Um, I've gone for Dark State off just the sheer point of view that surely they have to win something
Yeah,
because otherwise it's just if they lose here, there's no point in Dark State. Especially if they aren't going to announce a leader anytime soon. But yeah, I've picked Dark State here. I didn't have much to say in this match. That's about it. Just surely have Dark State win something.
yeah. We then have Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali, a WrestleMania rematch from what, like 7.5 years ago.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, 34, whatever that was.
yeah, they're running that back. Apologies for my dog in the background. This should be a good match though. I think that they're going to give the win to Ali. There was really not much of a like storytelling thing behind this. It was just mainly that Mustafa Ali was being a piece of shit. Cedric Alexander came back and said, "Oh, you're being a piece of shit." And then Ali was like, um, you beat me at WrestleMania, whatever. Let's run that back. So, yeah, they're running that back, and I think Mustafa Ali is gonna take the win here.
Yeah, this is actually one of the matches I'm very, very, very excited to see. Two guys, great chemistry in the ring. As you mentioned, the match at WrestleMania, if anybody hasn't, go watch those stuff on 205 Live, but from back in the day, it was incredible. Very excited for the match. Only difference is I went with Cedric, but again, it was kind of a toss of a coin. I wasn't 100%. Ali, more that I think of it, maybe does make sense because he's the official TNA talent, I suppose. Um, but either way, I've already said Cedric in my prediction, so I'll stick with Cedric. But I'm very much looking forward to this match.
Um, then we have Tessa Blanchard versus Indy Hartwell. I'm going to go with Indy to win this match. And it's
Yep.
because I don't think with like everything surrounding Tessa Blanchard, I think that they're gonna have her win little feuds, but they're going to keep her away from the knockouts title for as long as possible, especially with it being now associated with WWE. I think that they're gonna keep her away from that
Yeah.
and just have her win little feuds. So I think that they're gonna go with Indy Hartwell to win this match.
Yeah, same. I said in my video, don't try not to speak too much on Tessa Blanchard. I said she's the ultimate heel in kayfabe and outside of kayfabe currently in TNA. So that was the way I put it. But yeah, I know I did say though, I'm very, very happy for Indy, a very underrated women's wrestler. Someone who got pretty shafted, I would say, in the SmackDown brand. It was about fail what happened, but hopefully she gets a good can get a good showing here, and I've picked her to win here to hopefully kind of establish herself as a main player on the Knockouts Women's Division. So I'm going with Indy here.
Um, we then have a ladder match, a four-way ladder match for the tag team championships. It's the Nemets versus the Hardys versus the Rascals versus First Class. Um, I'm going to assume that the Rascals are going to win here, and we eventually get a Hardys heel turn because I
Ooh.
think that if the Hardys don't win this, that's a very like a good hint that they could turn heel.
Ooh, I would be interested. I never even thought of that to be fair, and I would be very interested to see. I very nearly went Rascals. Um, they were the ones that if right now, and I could change my prediction, and I am very tempted, but I've already done my predictions on TikTok. I don't want to. Because I wasn't too sure, too confident. I've stuck with the Nets, but I was very, very close for going with the Rascals. And I'm now that you've said about the whole Hardy heel turn thing, I want to see that. And now I kind of think the Rascals are going to win. So I'll stick to my word and I'll keep the Nemesis, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Rascals win. Let's put it that way. Um, I'll go with that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the match. I'm sure Jeff will do something that Jeff has probably been told not to do, in typical fashion. Uh,
Yeah,
so yeah, but it'll be a good match.
yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I just brought that up because like the Hardys didn't necessarily bring up retirement if they lost this match, but they seemed very determined, and I could see them losing this match and that sending them over the edge to turn heel.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting, certainly. And it'd give them that wee bit extra edge, I suppose, to for right now. I'd definitely be interested in seeing it, and especially if they want to stick around in TNA for a bit longer. Sign me up.
Um, so before we get into the rest of the card, we actually have to create another meeting because I did not think this was gonna get into three parts. But yeah, we have 5 minutes left in this one, so I will be
Go for
right
it.
back. All right, we are back. So yeah, that is the ladder match and our predictions for that. Next, we have Moose versus Leon Slater for the X Division Championship, in which I expect to be a good match. Both of these guys can go in the ring. Um, I expect Leon Slater to win this match. I'm gonna go with him. He's been doing great things recently, and Moose has had a pretty good run, pretty long run with
Yep.
that X Division title. So I'm going to think that Leon Slater picks up the win here.
Yep. Totally agree. I said that in my one as well. Moose has been a stalwart of the division for a while now, and Leon Slater. I was saying this earlier. It's absolutely disgusting. The guy's been. It's like I keep wanting to call him an up and comer in the UK Indies. I don't even think he is that anymore. He's like well established in the UK Indies. Any of his stuff from North Wrestling, Progress, Rev Pro, the guy is amazing, and he's still only 20 years old, which is disgusting. Like,
Yeah.
is disgusting. But I really want to see him with this belt. I think as well the X division really suits his style. I know obviously the whole point with the X division is there's no weight class, but like I think when you think of an X division match, Leon Slater's style really comes to mind. So I think he could do some great things in there, especially if he was to go and mix up with like I don't know, Mustafa Ali, for example. So yeah, I've gone Leon Slater here.
Yeah. Um, Next we have Masha Slamovich versus JC Jane for the Knockouts and NXT Women's titles. Now, this is the interesting match, and this is where the card gets a little more interesting because I've seen a lot of mixed thoughts on this match. I am going to go with JC Jane to win this match. I think that they're going to give that title to her still. I don't see Masha carrying both titles. And I can see them just putting all their eggs in one basket with JC Jane.
Yeah, this is a hard one. I think they're very slightly just shot themselves in the foot a little bit. It's weird if they'd had Jordan Grace in this position, would it be the obvious answer that she would win? Yes, but as I always say, obvious isn't bad. I think Jordan would have done a good job of carrying both companies. My issue is I don't see either woman with either company's belt. And firstly, I will say JC has very much impressed me since she's become an NXT Women's Champion. She's improved massively, and I think her match with Jordan at Evolution really proved that. But I still don't see her as the top of the NXT Women's division. The so I I've had it in my mind since the start of the week, since JC beat Jordan at Evolution. Then I'll stick with the prediction, but I'm slightly more worried now after NXT. But I'm going to go with Masha here, only for the cause. And I can't. I thought it was you that maybe said this to me. But it might not have been. Would be the fact that maybe this is like a bit of a finally a bit of repayment to TNA from NXT. Obviously, with Trick Williams being the TNA champion, maybe this is finally time for TNA to get something out of the relationship with WWE, and they get one of their people at the top of the NXT brands. So we're going to go with Marsha. However, and as we touched on earlier, that promo on Tuesday didn't fill me with a lot of confidence because if NXT are looking at that, I don't know if that's quite who they want to represent them at the top of their brand.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Hey JC to win this match. Um, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Masha. Um, but yeah, I out of these two women, I can see JC Jane carrying both titles more than I can see Masha carrying them. I Masha just
That's valid.
and like it's like nothing against Masha Slamovich. She's a great wrestler. Um, but I just don't see it being her to carry both these titles. And I think that WWE is just gonna pull the WWE card again and give it to JC.
Yeah, they could well, as you said. Like we, it's as if I'm trying to put any hope in WWE being nice, but we also know what WWE are like. I will say what I did say in my predictions, and maybe this is a bit telling for maybe I shouldn't be going for Marshall, but if Marshall does win, I don't think she's holding on to that NXT Women's Championship for very long. There's a certain person called Blake who I think is very much in the running for to get a shot at that. Though I did bring up the fact though, if say it also doesn't really matter either if it's Mash or if it is JC. When they win that, do we think it will be a case of like if Blake was to beat Mash or JC, does she then become the double champ as well? Or do you think they would just split the belts again? Then it seems kind of weird of them doing this match. This whole match stipulation altogether, I think, is very dumb idea because it's again backed and kind of booked themselves into a bit of a corner here.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if JC were to come out in this match victorious and Mariah May is next in line, I can see them just doing that for the NXT Women's title because I can see JC Jane and Fatal Influence um being on TNA a little more often. I think that they'll do pretty well on TNA.
Yeah,
So yeah,
now
I
you said
I
that.
don't know, and that like you said, this is the problem with these unification matches. It's like sure it's cool in the moment, but where are we going after? And what's it going to
Yep,
mean for the
that's
rest of now both divisions, the Knockouts division and the NXT women's division? So this could be a case where
yeah, it's
WWE ends up booking themselves in a corner again.
yeah, definitely. In fact, you're very good at this. You've like slightly. I'm going to still stick with Marshall, but you did mention something else. And now that I've thought about it, I'm like, I think you're correct. Because I didn't even consider, and I don't know why, the fact of, as you said, if JC wins this, she could go into the whatever the next NXT show is and lose the NXT Women's Championship to say Blake, but she could still be the Knockouts Women's Champion, and I could maybe see her on Fatal Influence now that you've mentioned it, or running the Knockouts Women's division a bit, and I'm now slightly sold on that idea. I'm still going to stick with Marshall, but you've slightly changed my mind a bit.
Yeah. Um. Then the main event is Trick Williams, Joe Hendry, and Mike Santana for the TNA World Championship. I'm going to take Mike Santana to win this. I think if Joe Hendry wins this, it'll be a little bit predictable. And I think that they're going to have the feel good story of Mike Santana finally winning the TNA World Championship.
Yeah, so I'll stick. So I'll go. I'll stick. Not don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'll talk about Joe Hendry first. As you said, I agree. I don't think he's winning this here. I very much believe Joe. I think his contract's up at the end of this year, if not the beginning of next. I think Joe's going to NXT. I think that's a given. So I don't think he's going to win it here. Now, for the longest time, pretty much until the middle of this week, I've been signed on for Mike Santana to win this. I really want that, and hopefully in the future it does happen because I love Mike Santana. I mean, he's so good, and I really want him one day to get the opportunity he deserves. And for the absolute longest time now, I believed it was going to be tomorrow. That was until I was on another podcast this week, with a guy called the Wrestling Geezer, shout out to him. And he brought up an idea that I've slightly thought about, and he's kind of changed my mind a little bit. And especially with something we brought up earlier and a potential segment that involves that, I'm going to stick with Trick Williams to retain. Uh, he retains, whatever. And then, as we mentioned, he is going to be kind of come face to face with the Undertaker on Tuesday. I wonder if Trick attacks the Undertaker and who comes out to save Taker, but the man who quote unquote retired him in AJ Styles is going to be at Slammiversary. And down the line, I wonder if AJ Styles is going to be the one to take the belt off of Trick and bringing the big guns into TNA and restoring that title to the top of where it belongs. It's a very out there guess, I know, but it got brought up to me and I was like, you know what? I kind of like it because now what I will say an asterisk around this, it also goes with something we spoke about earlier. If AJ wins the IC belt at SummerSlam, I don't think this will happen now. But both of us have both said earlier that we don't think he's going to win it. We think Dom's going to win it. So I wonder if this is something for AJ to do and give him one last run, especially as he's winding down his career, one last run at the top of TNA and be the one to dethrone Trick Williams and bring the belt back to TNA.
That is very possible. That definitely could
It's an out there
happen.
guess.
Yeah. Um, it's not out of the realm of possibility for that to happen. In my mind, the way I was thinking about it is that this is just a one-time showing for AJ Styles on TNA. It's like, okay, I'm here. It's
Mm.
for the moment. I don't I don't see a world where they put it on AJ. Um, I don't know why. I just don't. It would be really cool. It definitely
Yeah.
would be really cool if AJ Styles ends up being the one to dethrone Trick. Um, yeah, I just don't know. I think that they're just going to stick with the slightly more simple option with Mike Santana having his feel good moment. Because if Mike Santana loses this, he really has no reason to challenge for the TNA title again.
That's true. That's true. It's yeah, it's very out there. And if right now, I'll give I guess a second prediction if we want. Um, if we were to take the whole AJ thing out of it, my guess is Santana. And who, if you were to ask me who do I want to win tomorrow, it's Santana. I want Mike Santana to win. He more than deserves it, and I want to see him at the top of TNA. That's who. That's my other prediction. Is that if the this AJ thing isn't true, I would love for Santana to win tomorrow. But I like throwing a bit of some different ideas in there.
Yeah. So that is our TNA Slammiversary predictions for tomorrow night. Yeah, let us know what you guys think of TNA Slammiversary. The last thing we have to talk about, and I don't know why I put this as last. I should have kept the TNA predictions as last. Um, but Brooks Jensen is now part of Evolve.
Oh yeah,
Um, he attacked Jackson Drake, who retained, or actually, I don't know if it was for the title. Obviously, we don't cover Evolve here a lot because it's just not worth covering. Um, but Jackson Drake beat Lindsay Dorado, and then after the match, Brooks Jensen attacked him. And the last time we saw Brooks Jensen was when he got kicked out of the culling by Izzy Dame. And by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier. It kind of seems like Sean Spears is taking a back seat, and Izzy Dame is the leader of the culling now, and Nico Vance
yeah,
isn't really doing anything.
yeah. Actually, yeah, nice. I mean, fair play. I mean, I always say Izzy Dame is like, especially just when the last year has came on a lot. So fair play to her if it is what they're wanting to do. Especially with everything going on with Tatum. Maybe it is just to, as you said, give her a bit more of the spotlight to see if she can, hang up there. Obviously, Sean Spears, I know, is still one of the trainers in NXT. So maybe it is, as you said, him taking a bit of a step back to kind of see what Izzy can do.
Yeah. In terms of Brooks Jensen, though, anytime there's been a talent that got demoted to Evolve, it never went anywhere. They either stayed in Evolve or they end up getting released. And that would really suck for Brooks Jensen because I do like Brooks Jensen. I think he's a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, like even Ridge Holland has just recently got demoted to Evolve. Um, so yeah, I don't know what this means for Brooks Jensen if he's really going to build himself back up, which I really hope is the case, that he builds a better case for himself and gets called back up to NXT and really works his way back to the top. But I have no clue.
Yeah, the hard one. I yeah, I don't want to sit here and speculate or wish upon anyone to lose their job for it, but I don't know. I want to be proven wrong. I don't. It's not a great sign, is it? And I don't think it's the best of, I don't know, best look going forward of what might potentially happen to Brooks Jensen. Hopefully, touch wood, as you said, it does work out for him and he does well done there. But I don't know. It's a weird decision. Maybe it's something he wants to do and it was something he asked to do. But yeah, it's a bit weird the whole getting kicked out the culling and then, as you said, showing up on Evolve. But I guess we'll just need to wait and see.
Yeah. So that is everything we have for the headlines of the week. For this episode. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know your TNA Slammiversary predictions. Once again, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Hit the notification bell so you're up to date with all the videos, podcasts, and interviews. Make sure you go follow Rule and Wrestling on TikTok. Go follow Still World Order, who couldn't join us today, on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Go check their content out. They always got some great stuff. If you want to support on the monetary side of things, go ahead and check out the Ko-Fi page. It's $5 minimum for the exclusive wrestling content tier. And yeah, I don't know when the next podcast will be. We were talking about doing one tomorrow potentially, so we might have that. Um, I don't believe I'm going to do a post show for TNA Slammiversary. So yeah, if we do a podcast tomorrow, then you guys will obviously see it. But yeah, that is everything for the headlines of the week. let us know again what your thoughts are on everything we discuss. And if you agree or disagree with anything, I always love hearing your opinions and thoughts on everything we talk about. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.